Picture this. You wake up to the sound of hammers, bulldozers, and the echo of saws tearing through forest silence. You walk outside, coffee in hand, and the view that once calmed your soul, a quiet, shimmering lake, is now surrounded by cabins. Not one, not 10, but 139 of them. And here's the twist. The entire lake only exists because of the dam you control. So when the HOA tried to steal it, I showed them what happens when you build your empire on someone else's water. The lake wasn't natural. It was a miracle my grandfather created. Decades ago, he dammed the river that cut through our valley, and slowly, water filled the land until it became a crystal basin stretching for miles. People said it was madness, but when it was done, they called it beautiful. To me, it was more than land and water. It was family history, a reminder of the sweat and sacrifice my grandfather poured into it. I inherited not just the lake, but the responsibility, repairing the dam, keeping the gates functional, and ensuring the ecosystem thrived. So when I looked at that lake every morning, I didn't just see water. I saw ownership, and I guarded it like a hawk. At first, I noticed survey flags near the tree line, red ribbons fluttering in the wind. Then came the heavy machinery, bulldozers carving roads, trucks hauling in supplies, and men in hard hats barking orders. Curious, I drove down to ask what was happening. A contractor told me casually, "Big project. HOA's putting up cabins. Gonna be the new vacation hotspot. Lake access included." "Lake access?" I repeated, my voice sharp. "This lake isn't theirs to give," he shrugged. "Not my problem, buddy. I just build what I'm paid to build." By fall, wooden frames multiplied across the ridges like weeds. The HOA called it Shoreline Estates. The problem? They didn't own a single inch of my shoreline. It began almost quietly. I was fishing one morning when I spotted a kayak slicing across my cove. A family waved at me cheerfully from my dock, as if they belonged there. I rowed over. "This is private property. You can't be here." They looked confused, holding up a glossy brochure. But the HOA promised lake access. "It's in our purchase package." That night, I pulled up the HOA's website. My jaw clenched as I scrolled through photos, pictures of my lake, my boathouse, even a wide shot of my dam. They had plastered my property all over their ads, selling a dream built on lies. I decided to confront them. At their next community meeting, I stood up with my deed in hand. The room buzzed with whispers as I laid it flat on the table. "This," I said, "is proof that the lake and dam are mine. You have no right to advertise or allow access." Karen, the HOA president, leaned back in her chair. Perfect hair, diamond earrings, smug smile. She chuckled. "Oh, don't be so selfish. Lakes are meant to be shared. Besides, you'll make more money if you just cooperate." "Cooperate?" I snapped. "You're trespassing and you know it," she smirked wider. "And what are you going to do if we don't stop?" "Drain the lake?" The room erupted in laughter. But I didn't laugh. Within weeks, my sanctuary turned into chaos. Jet skis screamed across the water from sunrise to midnight. Trucks lined up on my dirt road, blocking my way out. Children shouted and splashed near my dock, tossing candy wrappers into the water. One afternoon, I found strangers grilling on my shoreline, their greasy smoke drifting into my house. "Who told you this was okay?" I demanded. "The HOA!" they replied confidently. "We pay fees for lake privileges." Every morning I filled trash bags with beer cans and styrofoam cups. My lake was becoming a dumping ground. My patience was cracking. I tried every official channel. Sent certified letters to the HOA office. Ignored. Called zoning officials. They brushed me off, saying it was a civil matter. I even spoke with the sheriff, who admitted, "You've got the deed, sure. But these HOA folks are powerful. Be careful. Don't start a war." A war? It already was one. The final blow came when I walked to my boathouse one morning and found the lock broken. Teenagers had dragged my canoe out and left beer bottles floating in the water. My grandfather's wooden oars, priceless to me, were gone. That's when something inside me snapped. That evening I walked to the dam. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the concrete wall. The iron floodgates groaned as water pressed against them, patient and eternal. I ran my hand across the massive wheel that controlled the gates. Cold steel under my palm. With a few strong turns, I could drain the lake back into the riverbed, leaving nothing but cracked mud. Without water, the cabins would lose their value instantly. HOA promises would collapse. Their empire would drown in its own lies. I stared at the water glistening in the moonlight, and for the first time, I seriously considered it. It didn't take long. One night at 2 a.m., I was jolted awake by pounding music. Headlights flickered outside my window. I stormed down to the shore and froze. Dozens of kids were partying on my pier. My pier swayed under their weight, beer cans scattered everywhere. Someone had even spray-painted graffiti on the planks. When I shouted for them to leave, one boy laughed and yelled back, "Chill out, old man!" HOA says it's community property. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the dam staring at the silver lake. My jaw clenched, my fists tight. Karen thought she was untouchable. The HOA thought they owned my water. It was time to remind them who really held the power. The next morning, Karen showed up in my driveway. Not alone, that she brought 2 board members in suits, puffed up with false authority. Her SUV door slammed, and she marched toward me like she owned the ground under her feet. "You need to stop harassing our residents," she snapped. "This lake belongs to the community now." I didn't flinch. I pulled the heavy deed from my pocket, unfolded it, and held it up. "This says otherwise. The dam, the water, the land beneath it, all mine," one of the board members scoffed. "Paperwork can be challenged. The people already believe it's theirs." I leaned closer, my voice low and steady. "Without me, you don't have a lake." Karen laughed, but her eyes flickered with the first trace of doubt. That night, I sat on the dam wall under a sky full of stars. My grandfather's voice echoed in my head. "This water is yours to protect. Don't let anyone take it from you." I looked at the cabins dotting the ridges, their porch lights glowing like invaders in the darkness. Jet skis floated at their docks, and music drifted faintly across the water. The wheel loomed in front of me, iron teeth catching the moonlight. I wrapped my hand around it, feeling its weight, its promise. I whispered to myself, "It's time." At dawn, mist curled over the lake, soft and innocent, unaware of what was coming. With slow, deliberate turns, I spun the iron wheel. The metal groaned, echoing like thunder. Then came the roar. Water surged through the opened gates, a white torrent crashing into the riverbed below. The calm mirror of the lake rippled, then sank, inch by inch. By noon, docks that once floated sat crooked in the mud. Fish flopped near the retreating shoreline. Families ran out of their cabins in confusion. "Why is the water so low?" one shouted. Panic spread like wildfire. The lake was bleeding out, and no one could stop it. That evening, the once proud shoreline estates looked like a battlefield. Jet skis sat abandoned on cracked earth. Children cried as their vacation paradise turned into a wasteland. I walked the shoreline calmly, listening to the chaos. Cabin owners screamed at Karen, shoving their contracts in her face. "You promised us lakefront property. You sold us lies. I paid $500,000 for this?" Karen stammered, her confidence collapsing. She tried calling it temporary maintenance, but no one bought the lie. The HOA office was mobbed with angry residents demanding refunds, and all the while the water kept draining. Within days, the HOA came after me with everything they had. Letters threatening lawsuits, notices taped to my gate claiming I was endangering the community. Karen herself showed up again, screaming, "This is illegal! You'll pay for this!" I didn't even raise my voice. Trespassing was illegal. Fraud was illegal. What I did? That was just nature taking her river back. My lawyer backed me up, sending them a letter so sharp it cut deeper than any threat. My client has exercised his full rights as owner and controller of the dam. Your claims hold no legal standing. For the first time, Karen was silent. Weeks passed, and the transformation was brutal. Where water once shimmered, tall grass now grew. Frogs croaked in shallow pools, birds returned to nest, and the river carved its old path through the valley. The cabins, worthless. Vacationers stopped coming. Owners walked away, their investments rotting in the sun. Porches faced mud. Docks stood useless, and the smell of decay hung in the air. Shoreline Estates became a joke. The HOA's grand project reduced to a graveyard of empty promises. And me? I finally heard silence again. Real silence. One evening I sat on the dam watching the sunset bleed across the horizon. The river flowed steady and strong below me, free at last. I thought of my grandfather, of the years he spent building this place, and I felt proud. Not for draining the lake, but for proving that no HOA, no Karen, no greedy scheme could rewrite history or steal what wasn't theirs. Karen's empire crumbled. The cabins rotted. The HOA collapsed under lawsuits. And me? I still had the dam, the deed, and the river. The HOA built 139 vacation cabins on my lake. But in the end, it wasn't me who destroyed them. It was their own greed and nature herself.